to just go in there and sit down. And I tell them when I sit down, I'll be like, I'm no different than you. I'm just leaving out and going home. You know what I'm saying? And this is 7-day in their treatment for them. But I tell them, like, I'm one of you. So don't think I'm coming in here to judge. I'm just coming to share what's helping me along my journey so that you can put it in your toolbox in case you need to use that to work on your life too.
Have you or someone you know been affected by mental health or substance use disorder? Well, you are not alone. Welcome to the podcast, Riverfront Talks, Substance Matters. I am Tiffany Moore, the coordinator for the Beaufort County 360 Behavioral Health Task Force. We're going to sit down and have some in-depth conversations with individuals who may have struggled themselves with mental health or substance use disorder, or perhaps know someone who has struggled. Either way, we're going to have some inspiration, motivation, and maybe even some tearjerkers. Welcome to the podcast, Riverfront Talks, Substance Matters. Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 3 of Riverfront Talks, Substance Matters. We are downtown in Washington, right off of the waterfront. We are at the Mulberry House restaurant. It is beautiful out here. We're on the rooftop, as you see from our background. This is a beautiful view. So we're going to bring you a new perspective today. As I've told you before, we want you to feel and absorb every idea, every area, every experience of substance use disorder and mental health. So today we have a special guest here. This is my buddy, Jeron. I call him Ron. He is charismatic, charming, very bright, has a lot to offer. His story is very, very different from the ones that we've previously brought you. He actually has his own personal lived experience with substance use disorder. So I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce himself. My buddy Ron, tell him who you are.
Well, as Tiffany said, I'm Ron, Jeron Randall. And you know, when it comes to what she talked about, different perspectives, I really came on board because the perspective of people having a stigma. And my lived experience is just because what I've lived through and where I've come now, it can help people with their stigma. Because my story is I've lived past my past. If I was never to tell you, then you would never know. But to be able to go back in the community and show people that, look, I was once over here doing this, but I'm not doing it anymore. That is what's needed in the community to help with the stigma. So I've come on board to be able to be, a helping hand, also a lived experience so that people can really come out of that stigma and say, you know what? People aren't bad. They just made bad choices. And if anybody can get the support they need, then they can make it to where they need to get to. So, that's why I'm here to help with the stigma.
Well, let me slow you down just a little bit, bring you back a little ways. You have a particular type of experience. Tell me what your firsthand experience is with substance abuse and, substance use disorder, and that'll kind of bring us into understanding why the destigmatization of it is important to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, when it comes to the substance abuse thing, I can't really say I was involved with substance use, but I was involved with the lifestyle of being around substance abuse. So to have the lived experience of being around it, I was around it. So it helped me to be able to deal with the people that were involved to try to get an understanding of what's your why.
How were you around it?
Well, growing up, I happened to get involved in the drug game. And getting involved in the drug game, it puts you in that whole aspect of that lifestyle. So it's just pretty much you're dealing with that life. Drug users, drug sellers, people that are violent, people that are just involved in a whole nother lifestyle. So by me being involved with it and coming out of it, it made me always ask myself, why do people do what they do? Why are they using drugs? Why are they selling drugs? Why are they so violent? And I had to ask myself the same thing first. Why am I doing this? So once I found out my why, then I was able to empathize with the people that were out there and ask them their why. But we'll get into that a little later on.
Okay. About how old were you when you were kind of introduced to the drug scene?
Actually, I was in high school, and I remember when crack cocaine first came out. And when crack cocaine first came out, I remember they used to put up signs in the school, and they had like crack valves, and they said, 5 years for that little crack valve. And I was in school one day, and some of my friends, they came to school, and they would pull out money out of their pockets, like just wads of money. I'm like, where'd you get the money from? He was like, man, that crack. And I was like, what? I was like, wow. And it really fascinated me. Like, man, you got all that money from selling crack? But, the structure that I'm single parent, but my grandparents helped raise me and my twin brother. And, I was like, nah, I better not do that. But as time went on, it became enticing.
Everybody started
exactly
doing it. It was a thing.
It became a thing. And the time when I was in school, it was called a crack era. And it was easy to get crack and sell crack. So, I wanted to have what other people had. I wanted to do what other people did. So, peer pressure, I just started selling crack. And it just went from there.
I know when you talked to me previously, you said in a way the lifestyle that went along with selling crack was as addictive as the substance itself. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. Anybody who has dealt with drugs before, they know that selling drugs is as addictive as using drugs. And the reason why it's so addictive because what happens is when the money starts to come in, now you're able to do things with the money to where it's like, put it like this, I'm the king of the world. Okay. Money gives you power. In the streets, money gives you respect. And once that comes, it's almost as if to put it in crazy, you've lost your mind. Like you really lose all concept of what's right and what's wrong. So it's no different than being on drugs than selling drugs. Because it's literally like you almost lose your mind.
Your moral compass is gone.
Yes, your moral compass is gone. So you just don't respect anything. You don't respect anybody. You don't even respect yourself. And you definitely don't respect the law.
So for people who are selling drugs, it's like you'll do whatever it takes to get more money, just like the person using drugs is going to do whatever it takes to get more drugs.
You will.
It's a very similar situation, just on different levels. You have the control, the respect, the power, because you are the person who has the supply when there's a huge demand. And like you said, during that time, it was a crack era. The demand was for crack and cocaine. Think 2023, there is a difference. The demand right now is for opioids.
Right.
Crack and cocaine are still prevalent.
Right.
So let's make that distinction, because one thing about it, during your time period, there were not, this campaign that we're doing right now, based on the opioid epidemic and all the lives that have been lost to overdose and substance use. During the 80s, 90s, when the crack era was going on, you didn't have that support. You didn't have support for people who were incarcerated for using it, but you certainly didn't have it for people who were actually going through it and experiencing firsthand substance use disorder. You also, there is another difference. You didn't have to worry about overdoses as much as you do with the opioid epidemic. So how long were you in prison, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, actually, when I got incarcerated and got locked up and got sentenced, I was sentenced to 360 months. And with the math, when you do 360 months, that's 30 years. I was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison. Never been locked up or anything before. Never any serious trouble. but get locked up and get sentenced to 30 years in prison. And I had just turned 23 years old. And
Wow.
and to get sentenced to 30 years, and my twin brother, they sentenced my twin brother to 44 years. And he had never been in trouble or anything. But the choices we made got us where we were at. And, wound up doing a substantial amount of time. Didn't do the whole 30 because the laws changed. The crack law had changed. And when it changed, instead of doing 30 years, I wound up doing 17 years, 7 months. My twin brother did 20 years. And, it's still a long time.
So
but,
both are still significant amounts of time. And considering the fact that you were 23 when you went in, that's a big chunk of time that you lost.
Nearly half my life.
Yeah. So we spoke to some of the differences from beforehand until now. Tell me about the difference in you. I always brag about you. I tell everybody you are my hype man. You are so charismatic. You are charming. And God knows you get out in this community and you do a lot of great work. Tell us where that came from. At some point, there was a change in you.
Well, when I got locked up, it was 1995. When I got locked up, I had never been in any serious trouble before. Any serious trouble. And when I got incarcerated, I literally sat down in the jail and I said, what in the world is going on? And I literally was like, it's got to be more to life than this. It's got to be more. It's like before I got locked up, shootouts, worried about the law, worried about who might be after me, what might happen to me, And I just got to a point when I got incarcerated, I was like, it's got to be more to life than this. And I remember sitting in there and doing personal inventory saying, man, what have I gotten myself into? And, it was a life-changing experience for me, truthfully, a life-changing experience for me to be in a place like that and you have nowhere to turn to but yourself. And when I looked inside of myself, I said, I got to do better for me. So I started, really examining myself and saying, you know what? I need to stop doing what's wrong and look for what's right. And I started looking for what was right inside of me. And from that point on, I just started going for what was right.
So you made that decision to do basically a 360.
Oh, actually,
while you were...
Actually, I did a 180.
Okay.
I did a 180. Because when I first was in, I was like a 360 is start this way, spin, and come right back the same way. So a 180 was when you spin around and you go the opposite direction. And I really had to learn that. I was like, I'm not doing a 360 anymore. I'm doing a 180 so I can go the opposite way. I need to go back where I need to go to. Because going the same way, I was like, I'm headed for destruction. So I did a 180 and I started saying, you know what? This is the direction I need to be going because I went that way too long. And it's only caused destruction. So I turned around from it, started going back. And as we say, I started going back home. I had to go back home. And once I got home, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
And you made that decision while you were locked up.
Actually, when I got into the county jail, and to share a story with you, real quick, I would never forget the address to where I got locked up at. It was 124 New Hope Road.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, this is a perfect place to get myself together. 124 New Hope Road. So that's where my hope began. Right there in Pitt County Jail on New Hope Road. I got a new hope, and I've just been on that mission ever since.
It's the irony of that.
Yes.
Okay. So we've talked about your past. And we did that primarily so we have youth right now who may be thinking about getting out in the trenches, who are wanting to jump into this game because it's attractive. Just the popularity of people who are selling drugs is, to some kids, that's who they idolize. So we wanted to bring you that experience of his, but your new experience, since you're out, since you've done your 180, you are working with Celebrate Recovery. You are doing peer mentoring. Tell us a little bit about Celebrate Recovery and what you do with them.
Yeah, Celebrate Recovery is a program that we have at our church. I go to a church called Harvest Church in Washington, North Carolina, and we have a program every Thursday. It's called Celebrate Recovery. And at Celebrate Recovery, it's focused and geared towards people with hurts, habits, and hang-ups. And with the program, most people think it's for people that are on drugs or alcohol or anything like that, but it's bigger than that. It's for people with hurts, hang-ups, and habits. And when I did my personal inventory while I was in, I really realized that most people do wrong things because they have a hurt, a habit, or a hang-up. And most people, like, they do things because they're hurt or they have a hang-up, and a lot of people get on drugs and all kinds of stuff because they're hurt. And they do these things to cover it up. So it's a coping mechanism. So with Celebrate Recovery, it's set up just for that. When people have hurts, habits, and hang-ups, they can come to Celebrate Recovery. They hear testimonies. They're able to get it out in a small group, and it's anonymity. So people are in a safe space to come in, get it out, and be able to overcome it. And I've been going to Celebrate Recovery ever since I came from prison. I've been home. May the 3rd will be 10 years I've been home from prison. And I've been successful. I've been programming in it, and it's a lifestyle for me now. So at the end of the day, I tell people it is what it is. It's celebrating your recovery, and I celebrate my recovery. That's why I'm so happy all the time.
God knows you are.
You like my smile? Yes, but I love it.
Your energy, I feel like anyone at Celebrate Recovery, any other arena that you're in, they can feed off of you. So that's why you're effective as a peer. Because not only do you have a certain experience and angle that you can bring to that, but you also have a positivity, a light about you. You could be discouraged. You could be like, oh, I've been half my life in prison. You know, there's nothing for me to try to do. But you're not that way. And I feel like when I listen to you talk, you encourage other people. Like you're actually motivational and positive, where you could be totally opposite.
Right. And that's the thing, like, you know, I oftentimes have to encourage myself, you know, and that's what keeps me going. And the people that I come into contact with, I really believe in the best in people, you know what I'm saying? Because I saw how, as I motivate myself and see the best in me, I know it's in other people too. So, you know, I try to give it. Like, if you got some light in your life, look, you can see a bright day. So I just try to be light to people whenever I come around, light the day up. You know how we are when we take them lights out. Lights, camera, action. Y'all don't pay me any attention. I'm just always like this.
Again, this is my hype man. You can never be around him and not have a good time. But he's going to kick some truth out there to you while he's cutting up and acting foolish, because he is. You're always going to get that side of it. But I enjoy it. Our work is super serious. But we have to find a way to bring some light and some positivity to what we do. Otherwise, you know, we'd be in a bad space, and that's not what we need.
Not at all.
As far as some of the other things that you do, you get out with us. We do community in action.
Right.
We go around to different smaller townships, more rural areas in Beaufort County, and we take resources for people who use substances. We want you to be safe. We have Narcan. We have clean syringes. We also consider the food insecurity. Again, as Ron just said, you know, there are a lot of things that cause people to use drugs, cause people to want to get in the drug game. There's just a lot of social determinants that affect what your lifestyle is. It can be on either or level at any point in time. So when we first met Ron, we told him about it. He jumped up. He grabbed him a crew. They came out. They joined us. So you go around, you take pamphlets about Celebrate Recovery. You tell people about it. You go over to Port. What do you do when you're at Port?
Actually, I go to Port. I normally go there on Mondays. I try to get there between 10 to 11 o'clock. And I'm a volunteer. I go over there as a volunteer because I love to be a support to anybody. But when I go into Port, I hold small groups with them. I sit down with them and talk to them. And most of the time when I go in, it's like they're just down and out. And when I come in, I come with energy. And by the time I'm done, the energy that I have in me is imparted to them. And they're like, man, I'm glad you came. Like, what you shared, I've never heard that before. And they'll be like, man, like, how often do you come? And it's like just that hunger. And again, it's because of lived experience to be able to go in there and support them and talk the language of the people. See, when you can talk the language of them, then they can hear you. And I love it, like to just go in there and sit down. And I tell them when I sit down, I'll be like, I'm no different than you. I'm just leaving out and going home. You know what I'm saying? And this is 7-day in their treatment for them. But I tell them, like, I'm one of you. So don't think I'm coming in here to judge. I'm just coming to share what's helping me along my journey so that you can put it in your toolbox in case you need to use that to work on your life too. So, you know, I go in there, I do that. I do also prison ministry. I go inside of the prisons because I have that lived experience, and I share with those guys. And a lot of them, when they come out, they contact me, and, you know, I get with them and, you know, show them it's not just in prison. We're here to support you too, because I know what it's like to go to prison and come out and not have any support. So to be able to have support for them when they come out, I'm thankful to have that. But I won't say I didn't have support because my family was there. But it's other support besides family support. It's community support. And that's what's needed also, too, for people that are coming out of prison. Like, people coming out of prison, they need community support, you know. So I'm here for them when they come out of prison.
Mm-hmm. And that gives a lot of people hope.
Yes,
where, again, you don't have to be a victim of your circumstances. Mm-hmm. You can actually use that to be better, to thrive, to maybe find your way in life, to find your calling. If you hadn't experienced going to prison, you may not have ended up in the line of work that you're doing, especially as a community advocate for different people. Like you said, when you go to Celebrate Recovery, everyone there may not be a substance use person. It may not be someone at NNAAA. It may just be somebody who actually needs to talk. Depression. You know, mental health is just as important as substance use, addressing substance use disorders. We got to wrap it up. We don't have much longer. But I know previously in talking to you, you gave me a story about an interaction you had with a young person.
Right.
And he was considering getting in the game, what we call the game. Can you do that real quick for me?
Okay, well, I was actually off one day, and I got a phone call. So a lot of times if I don't know the number, I don't answer. But this one day, I answered the call. When I answered, it was a young guy that I know, and he was like, can I talk to you? So I was like, okay, what's going on? So he was like, can I meet you somewhere? So I was like, well, we can meet. I said, I'm at my mother's house right now. I'll send you the address and just come over. He was like, okay, I'll be there in a few minutes. So he came over, and I was outside washing my car, and he said, can I ask you something? I was like, yeah, what's up? So he was like, what do you think about marijuana? I said, well, it's illegal. He was like, I know, but what do you think about it? Is it bad? I said, it's illegal. It's not legal here. And the guy that was talking to me, he was a high school kid. He was a senior in high school. And I told him, I said, well, why you asking me? He said, because I know you went to prison, you did a lot of time, and I respect you because, you know, you're out here and I see you're doing okay. I said, I'm doing okay because I'm not doing anything illegal. If I was doing things illegal, I wouldn't be okay. When I was doing things illegal, that's why I went to prison. I said, it's not legal. So
keep reiterating.
I had to, exactly, because what I've learned about kids is because they don't know, they're exploring. And when they explore and they don't have right guidance, they'll go down the wrong path. And because I've been down that path, I was able to talk to them and say, you know what, it's illegal. You want to ask me about it? And I'm honest with kids. I said, you're going to do what you're going to do anyway. I can tell you it's illegal. You'll probably still go do it. But let me advise you that if you're in high school and you get caught with drugs, it's going to mess your life up. Well, it ain't a bad drug. I was like, but you will have a record. Why would you want to have a record versus not having a record and messing up your life before your life even starts? So he said, well, what you think I should do? I was like, I don't think you should sell drugs. I think you should go to school and finish school and get out of school and figure out what you're going to do with your life, but don't do anything illegal. And he was like, you know what? He said, thanks, man. He was like, I'm not going to do it. So I was like, I'm glad you're not going to do it because I want to see you win and not lose. And I'm glad he was able to respect me enough to come to me and ask me. And I will be honest about this. The lifestyle that I live now is a right lifestyle, but I live good. Mm-hmm. And I think he saw that I live good and I'm at peace. And I don't know how, I knew how a drug dealer looked when I was growing up, but they look nice, they dress nice, and they carried themselves well. Mm-hmm. But I carry myself well so that when kids see me, they'll be like, I like how he carries himself.
And you don't have to be.
And I don't have to do wrong to carry myself well. Mm-hmm. And kids see that, and I'm able to tell them, look, I don't sell drugs or anything, but I carry myself well. And you like how I look, right? You like how I carry myself? Mm-hmm. This is how you need to be. And that's what I think kids really need now. They need somebody to look up to where I like what you got. I like how you carry yourself. And you're not doing anything illegal? No. I drive a Mercedes. I dress nice. I have nice things. I'm not doing anything illegal. But if you look at somebody who's doing something illegal that's look like they're you don't want to be like that because he's looking over his shoulder. He doesn't know what might happen to him next. You just got to choose which one you want. So I'm glad that I'm able to be here now on the right track, to be a good example for kids and to be able to talk to kids to help them see what's better versus what's not good. So that's my spiel. I'm sorry for taking so long. But
well, thank you for that. And I wanted to end on that note because, again, what we're doing is if we can reach you before anything in our world has to affect you, that is our ideal of what we want to do. Right. However, if you need help and you are struggling, we want you to know that there are resources there. There are people like Ron who love you, who care for you and want the best for you. Same here. Just a couple of things to let you know. Celebrate Recovery meets when?
Every Thursday night. We start at 5:45. We have a meal. If you're hungry, you want to eat, get something to eat, come get you something to eat. After that, at 6:20, we go upstairs. We have a little music playing. Then we'll go into video testimony. After that, with small groups. And then we just spill our beans, and we feel better when we're done. Then we celebrate recovery. Thursday nights.
Thursday nights, y'all. Again, Behavioral Health Task Force. I am the coordinator. I am here. My contact information is all over Beaufort County. We have Community in Action. We are coming out to you. If you need help and you want us in your area, reach out to me, tiffany.moore@bchd.net. I am easily accessible. I will get in my car and go find you. Just one last final note about this beautiful location that we have here. We are downtown in Washington at the Mulberry House Restaurant. They have great bang bang shrimp. First person ever bring me here. We will be back at the Mulberry House yet again. I hope you stop by in between times. See y'all later. Thank you all for joining us for this episode of Riverfront Talks, Substance Matters. If you are from the Beaufort County area and know someone who is suffering from mental health and substance use disorder and may be looking for resources, my information is below in the description. We also would like your feedback to gather input about today's episode. Please also complete the short survey listed in the description. A special thank you to our sponsors, ECU Health Beaufort Hospital and KB Reynolds Charitable Trust. Like, share, and subscribe. See you later.